Hello, this is Clare Dubois. This is session 9 of the Facebook Lives that I've been doing for the Million Tree campaign. And it's been a very interesting journey through all of these different experiments of what might work. How can I share experiences or metaphors to try and help us recognize collectively the privilege of our responsibility of taking care of our world. I've tried 8 times, this is number 9, and actually today I'm going to share another story, which is what happened when I finally said yes after the car crash. And if you haven't watched that one, session 6, which will be down on the Facebook page, TreeSister's Facebook page now, telling the story about how after I had nailed a social strategy for an agroforestry initiative in southern India, how I had a car crash that basically handed me TreeSisters fully formed with a very strong message to experiment because you can't fail, and also that women were the missing link. So that story is in session 6. Before I talk about what happened next, I just want to say we've passed 680,000 trees a year. We've done this in about 3 weeks flat. It's astonishing. Well over 200 women have just come in the last 48 hours, and men actually. And so to all of you who are starting to feel the throbbing momentum of this campaign for life, for the trees, I have huge gratitude for you. Thank you so much for choosing to make giving money to trees part of the air that you breathe. You rock. I am thrilled. It's incredible. So many of you have been sharing. Everything that you can do is sincerely appreciated, and I hope you feel so good about contributing. And I know some of you are having problems making donations. Our donation system is having problems. Please just make contact with support@treesisters.org and we'll try and help you as best we can, but don't give up, please. So I said at the top here, you know, when life tells you to do something, always best to say yes, because I had a very interesting experience of trying to say no. And I said no for a lot of good reasons. You know, I was frightened, and I didn't want to try, and I knew what I'd been asked to do made perfect sense, but I did not believe that I'd ever have a hope in hell of turning myself into the thing that could do it, for starters. But more than that, I was really afraid of doing something for women, and this one is a lot more to do with why women. Because what I tried to do, you know, I got the logic, I got so much in a car crash about what needed to happen, and I got the reforest the tropics within 10 years. But I wanted it to be everybody, because essentially it needs to be everybody. It does. It's going to take all hands on deck, and women are no more relevant to reforesting the planet than men are. So I was just, you know, I don't want to do the women, primarily because of my fear of celebrating women or standing up as a woman and being attacked, but also because it didn't make sense to me. And so I tried to do a couple of different initiatives in that 9 months afterwards, which were reforestation initiatives and which were community building and all the different aspects of what I'd been given. And hard as I tried, I would get interest, I'd get potential team members, all sorts of things would line up, and then all of a sudden the rug would be pulled. And it kept happening, and it was so weird, because what happened was each time I made another grand gesture of, okay, well, I'll try it this way, and the rug would get pulled, I'd wake up the next day and I couldn't remember what I was doing. It was literally like having temporary amnesia. And the last time it happened, it was so bad. I had such a whack around the head from life. I woke up the next day and I was just like, okay, I get it. I'm sorry, I'm doing something wrong. Tell me what to do. And the same voice that I heard in the car crash spoke to me again and just said, you can do all of that you're trying to do, but you do it through the women. And I kind of thought, well, you know, there's no point fighting it anymore. It's like the same thing is coming, mobilize the women, mobilize the women, mobilize the women. And I knew I wasn't, because I was afraid, and being afraid is never actually a good enough reason to not try something. So I stood, and I can remember the exact place on the road under a tree where I was when I said, okay, I'll do it. Tell me what a tree sister is. And back came, it's a woman who makes 5 choices. To be considerate of life and understand her impacts. To be encouraging of her sisters. To be intimate with nature in a way that she feels it as part of herself. To be responsible for its protection and its upkeep. and to be courageous with her gifts. And I remember at the time going, oh, it's a 5, it's a 5, it's a 5-pointed star. And I ran home and I drew a 5-pointed star and I said, where do they go? And I was shown consideration in the head, encouragement in the left arm, intimacy in the left leg, responsibility in the right leg, and courage in the right arm. And I remember looking at it and thinking, well, that kind of makes sense. And then putting it away and just getting on with my day. And then about a week later going, hang on a minute, and going back to this little 5-pointed star that I'd drawn, which you'll see if you go to the explore page on TreeSisters.org. I could see suddenly that encouragement in the left arm was the in-breath of the heart. It was our need for love. It was our need for each other. It was our ability to, from our hearts, open to each other and feel each other. And the intimacy was, in effect, the in-breath of the body. It was our ability to feel ourselves as part of all that is. And that responsibility was the out-breath of the body, which was, okay, now that you can feel how things are, what are you going to do? So responsibility was our ability to respond from what we feel. And that courage was the out-breath of the heart, which was, in effect, how our hearts long to be given in creativity and in service and in generosity. And that what we had was an in-breath and an out-breath, or what we had was the feminine and the masculine. And the head, consideration, actually, rather than being this dominant tyrant that we live in our world, was essentially servant leader. Would we be able to receive the information from the receptive heart and receptive body, to be able to transmit that, you know, this is how the things are, so then transmit to the out-breath side of our masculine side of our body, what are we going to do about it? And I got it. I suddenly got it. It was like this paradigm shift in my body, that the left-hand side of the body, as represented by this 5-pointed star, was the feminine. Our ability to plug into the life systems that we are and the communities that we are, the species that we are, everything that we are as part of nature and humanity, and feel how that is the feminine principle, the feminine receptive principle, so that we can take that information and give it to the masculine, the active side of us, responsibility, the part that knows how to respond, and courage, the part that knows how to give our gifts to create the world that we want. And I saw it. The feminine comes first. The feminine comes first. Because how can you know what to do, which is the masculine, unless you feel how things are? And I got why women. Why women is because the feminine principle is down in our world. The feminine principle, the feeling, relational, intuitive, instinctual side of our nature that can merge with creation, has been shamed and damned and cut off and humiliated and repressed and suppressed and everything else that is horrendous that you want to do to something that is as sensitive and as feeling as that. And the masculine principle has been lauded, celebrated, and in fact has moved into its shadow principle. Because the masculine and feminine are two natural sides. It's yin and yang. They exist together in harmony with each other in a system that is balanced. When one decides that it is superior and presses the other one down, it is no longer in right relationship. It has moved into its shadow nature. That is patriarchy. Patriarchy is not the masculine. The masculine is an exquisite, beautiful, creative, absolutely vital part of creation, the same as the feminine is. But when the masculine decides that it is superior, and that to build and to create and to cut up and to know with the mind and to use our rational brilliance to actually sever from nature and to discover ourselves or perceive ourselves as superior to nature and to women as well, and everything that womankind actually brings forward, it's moved into its shadow. So we live in a shadow patriarchal system currently. We've all inherited it, men and women. And if you've listened to session 8, which is my explorations on momentum and the swimming pool metaphor, you will understand that we are in a fast-moving momentum of patriarchal consciousness that we've all inherited. Nobody's wrong here, But it is not great if we don't wake up and see what we're actually doing and make a different choice, which is we need to reinstate the feminine. And that's what I realized. And that's why I decided to actually step up and say, yes, okay, I'll do it. I understand how the feminine principle needs to be reinstated in men and women, for sure. But the women are the more natural custodians of that instinctual, feeling, relational side. We're wired for it. Hormonally, we're wired for it. We're wired to protect and create life. We're wired to feel for the health of any system and feel how to bring it back into balance for everybody, not just for ourselves, for everybody. I've just done a movement meditation called the Dance of Power, which was a deeply embodied process whereby I took about 150 women, I think, through the TreeSisters map, through this 5-pointed star. And it is an incredibly powerful blueprint and framework of energetic flow, which in some subsequent Facebook Lives, I'm going to go very deeply into this map and how it actually works. But what I would say in this moment is what I know it to be, which is a blueprint of a restorer species. Because the womb sits at the center of this map. Future generations, life on Earth, Earth herself sits at the center, and each of these capacities sit around it as how we use our humanness to create more life, more fertility, more health, more abundance for all species. The shadow map, which I will go into again in a lot of detail anon, has money at its center. That's what we've done. As we've shifted or flipped into patriarchy, we've also removed life from the center of our world and the sacredness of life, and we've put money as the false god at the core. So short-term gain, short-term wealth, as opposed to long-term abundance for all species, is the name of the game. The womb sits at the center. Woman holds the womb, and that's again what I was told, what I said in session 6 when I had the car crash. Woman is womb carrier and Earth is womb. Womankind has a remarkable responsibility at this time as we wake up from this momentum that we've been in, that is a patriarchal, what's the opposite of blessing? I don't want to say a curse because I don't want to give it that much power, but how we've been conditioned away from ourselves and away from the strength that we have, the uniqueness that we have, and the absolute vitalness of our natural capacities to feel how things are in the world around us so that we can create solutions that shift it back towards health on behalf of all. Womankind. A tree sister is a woman who is ready to say, we can't continue the way that we're going on. We cannot continue to act as if how we've been conditioned is it. For our species, it's not it for our species. And are we willing to use our hearts and our passion and our courage to stand together and bang a different drum, dance a different dance, sing another tune, do something that actually says, you know what, we're done with that. Let's try something different. And that is in the call, in the film that I did, the very short 5-minute film I did for the Million Trees campaign. What if women collectively stood up and said, you know what, it's time to do things differently, so we will. What if half the world's population said, you know what, it's time not to be considered less than anymore, and we can't wait for the other half of the population to wake up to the fact that actually what we bring is vital. We need to wake up to the fact that what we bring is vital. We need to reinstate the feminine principle in ourselves. And that is our God-given right to the extraordinary power that comes through when women are together. And that is our natural birthright of nature connectedness. Through our bodies, we are woven into the cosmos through our wombs. We are lunar beings. We have access to information that comes in through the creative force of life on this planet. It's ours to bring to the world. That is our responsibility. So there we have it. That's my thought for the morning. And I would like to, again, invite all of you, all of you, all of you. Nobody is exempt from cooling down our planet when we all know that we're warming her. Nobody is exempt from taking responsibility for turning our situation around when we are all contributing to a world out of control. Please become a tree sister. Please become a tree brother. Please go to milliontreescampaign.com today and start making giving money for trees every month part of the air that you breathe. Please help us start to shift towards being a restorer species, one that recognizes our role to start giving back to life, to start restoring life rather than just taking all the time. Let's create a new norm, and let's do it together, and let's do it fast. We need to do it so fast. milliontreescampaign.com, or just go to treesisters.org to the join in page and become a tree sister. There are so many ways in which we are waiting to contribute to you.